Welcome back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next 8 to 10 days in today's video. We've got some interesting patterns emerging. It looks as though we're going to see some Atlantic driven weather actually coming up towards the middle of November. I did a video yesterday talking about blocking over Scandinavia. That's actually been, on this morning's models, it's been forced southwards, that blocking towards central and southeastern parts of Europe, leaving us in a mainly Atlantic-driven flow. So it does look as though we are going to be in for some milder, more unsettled weather, really, up to the middle of the month at least. Anyway, we'll have a look at it in a moment. Just want to quick mention the advertising. Usually be a video ad overlay in my weather videos at GazWeatherBiz.com. Please play those videos. You'll be supporting GazWeatherBiz.com by doing that. So I want to start off with the Arctic Oscillation observed and forecast chart. Now the Arctic Oscillation is really reflective of blocking over the North Pole, and this black line here shows where the Arctic Oscillation has been. If the Arctic Oscillation is positive, then that means that we've got low pressure over the Arctic, so we've got enhanced westerly winds in the mid-latitudes. If the Arctic Oscillation is negative, that means that we've got high pressure over the Arctic blocking over the North Pole, and that usually means that it's cold in the mid-latitudes because the block forces out the cold off the pole in towards the mid-latitude. So we can see on this black line that we go right way back to the middle of summer actually with this, but the period that we want to look at specifically is October. There's October the 10th there. And we can see that we have been pretty negative with the North Atlantic Oscillation. That's October 1st, by the way, I should say, not October 10th, it's 1st of October there. We can see that throughout October we have been pretty negative with the NAO, and actually as we got through towards around the 20th of October, that Arctic Oscillation did go tremendously negative. It went down to -3 on the scale, a very negative NAO, and that's the reason we had such a cold AO, I should say, Arctic Oscillation. That's the reason we had such a cold October, because the block formed over the pole and it forced the cold air down into the mid-latitudes, and it affected us and gave us a cold month. But now we see the black line is picking up, and actually the forecast is to take that Arctic Oscillation positive in the next few days. But there goes the red line there. That's the forecast of the Arctic Oscillation. We're going quite positive over the next few days, and then it dips down a bit, but only back down towards neutral. And then once we get through towards the middle of November, we have a lot of scatter here. Some of the members of the ensemble are going very positive with the Arctic Oscillation. Some go back towards negative, so a lot of scatter there for the Arctic Oscillation through the middle and then second half of the month, meaning that the model is undecided really what will be happening in the second half of November. But certainly for the coming few days, we can see that the trend is to take the Arctic Oscillation positive, which means we're going to get low pressure forming over the North Pole. We're going to enhance the polar vortex, and we're going to bring westerly winds in off the Atlantic. Now, as the Arctic Oscillation goes positive, you would expect the North Atlantic Oscillation to go positive as well, and that is what's forecast to happen. Again, this is a very similar idea, very similar chart to the Arctic Oscillation chart. This North Atlantic Oscillation chart, we go right way back toward the middle of summer. With this, we can see that through much of the summer and into much of the autumn, the North Atlantic Oscillation has been negative. Negative North Atlantic Oscillation means that you get blocking area of high pressure somewhere around Iceland, and you'll get low pressure in the Azores area, and a positive North Atlantic Oscillation means that it's the reverse, with low pressure around Iceland and high pressure in the Azores. That's the typical setup for the Atlantic. A positive North Atlantic Oscillation. The negative North Atlantic Oscillation is actually not typical, and that's when again negative North Atlantic Oscillation is associated with the negative Arctic Oscillation. So when the two are negative, then we get the cold weather coming down in towards the mid-latitudes. Now obviously it's the reverse when they're both positive. And that's where we're going with the North Atlantic Oscillation. As the Arctic Oscillation goes positive, so the North Atlantic Oscillation is going to pick up towards positive as well. So as we go through towards the middle of November, we have the North Atlantic Oscillation going positive here. Not strongly positive. but we are picking up above neutral, so yes, the North Atlantic Oscillation will begin to go positive. Again, this reflects that we're going to bring in more of a westerly flow, a milder, more unsettled Atlantic-driven pattern. So if we have a look at the GFS ensembles, we can see that the coming few days, actually, temperatures are going to be picking up above average, and then we start to pick up a bit of a cine wave here, which basically means that we get mild sectors where the temperatures lift up above average, then we get cold sectors behind on the back end of the low pressure. The temperatures briefly go colder than average, then back to milder, then back to colder, then milder again. That's as the warm and cold sectors move through off the Atlantic. And for precipitation, the precipitation spikes actually, by the way, when you balance all this out, usually with an Atlantic-driven pattern in the winter or late autumn into the winter, the temperatures overall, when you balance it out, do come out above average, despite the fact that it looks as though you get the warm, cold, warm bands coming through around those low pressures averaged out. Yes, the temperatures are usually milder than average. For precipitation, we can see we've got a lot of precipitation coming up actually over the next few days. Not too much in the next 2 or 3 days, but once we get through to around the 10th, the 11th, so over the weekend, those precipitation spikes do start spiking up. And also we've got a very unsettled period coming up through the middle of the month, hardly surprising, because the Atlantic, it looks as though it's going to start driving the pattern. Temperatures picking up a little bit above average. These are the temperature anomalies from the GFS model. Yes, we see the pinks beginning to reappear across the British Isles. This is indicative of the westerly winds strengthening, so although it's turning more unsettled probably, it's also turning a little bit milder. So just running through the generic charts of the GFS model first of all, and we see we've got the low pressure around Iceland in 10 days time, Tuesday the 13th of November, bringing in this west to southwesterly wind. This is quite a mild wind. There's a high pressure there across Central Europe. This was there was hints that this was going to set up over Scandinavia yesterday, but now it looks as though the westerly winds are going to be so strong it forces that high pressure into Central Europe, and we bring this westerly flow through. Now, how long this lasts, I'm not sure, because by the time we get through to Friday the 16th, we're already beginning to try and get that high pressure building more towards the north again, and the jet stream starting to dig southwards. The black line, remember, is the jet stream taking this low pressure down in towards France. So it could well be this is only a brief return of the positive AO and NAO, only a brief return of the Atlantic Westerlies, and then once we get through to the second half of the month, there is probably the chance that will begin to settle back into a colder pattern again as ridges begin to build more towards the north and the northeast. But that's quite speculative. We'll have to wait and see on that. The ECMWF model for a week's time, Tuesday the 13th, again we've got this west to southwesterly flow coming in, low pressure in the Atlantic, the high pressure over Central Europe, are very much an Atlantic-driven pattern, and we remain in that sort of situation actually with the ECMWF model as we go towards 10 days out, Friday the 16th. The low pressure off the Atlantic is still driving the pattern. The jet stream here, the black line, is flat, running across the Atlantic into Europe, and we've got these ridges to the south and the east, but this is very much an Atlantic zonal sort of pattern setting up. Finally, the Canadian model, the GEM, again we've got a flat westerly flow coming across the Atlantic in a week's time, Tuesday the 13th. This is a little bit more southwards with the jet stream, so it's slightly cooler than the GFS and the ECM, but really it's the same sort of idea with low pressure driving the pattern off the Atlantic. Strong westerly winds with that as well. And as we go through towards 10 days out, Friday the 16th, the Atlantic's still driving the pattern really, although we're getting these troughs beginning to dig southwards again, possibly hinting that pressure's trying to rise up to the northeast. But really this is still an Atlantic sort of zonal type pattern and quite unsettled as well. So it certainly looks like we're in for a period. Don't know how long it's going to last really, but certainly a good week, 10 days maybe, of Atlantic driven weather. It'll be milder, but it'll also be more unsettled with showers or longer spells of rain. That's it for now. Come back tomorrow. I'll be doing the 5-day forecast, but that's all for now. Thanks for watching.